Hello everybody, it's Stephen here for the Idiot Quilter and welcome to my weekly episode. This is episode number 230 for August the 29th, 2023, and we're just about done the summer months, aren't we? I guess technically September up until the 21st of September is still summer, but when the kids go back to school, we're pretty much calling it fall, aren't we? So what have I been working on? Well, you've seen this in bits and pieces, and here it is now. This is the Christmas quilt. This is the design by Chelsi, Stratton. Okay, those of you that have asked me what this pattern name is, I will have a link to it in the show notes below. But it is by Chelsi Stratton, and the design is called Regal Pines. I chose to do it in Christmas fabric because I thought it would make a great Christmas quilt, but you could do it in any kind of fabric. It would make a great fall quilt. Actually, it could work for almost any season, depending upon the fabrics that you pick. But of course, I picked Christmas. And you'll notice something else is very interesting here. I have a new display stand. Yes, it took me a while to find something that I thought would work. I did a search on Amazon, and that's where it came from. And I think I have a link for that in the show notes below as well. If I don't, just do a search. What you need to search for on Amazon is put in backdrop display stand, and you'll find a whole selection of many of these things. Now, they all look pretty much the same. What I was concerned about is whether or not it's going to bend in the middle with the big bar across the top when a full-size quilt gets on there. And yeah, I think it will a little bit, but I don't think it'll be enough that it'll bother me. The price wasn't bad. It ended up costing me with taxes about $75 Canadian. It's supposed to hold up to 11 pounds, and it's supposed to extend. The crossbars have extension pieces to them that fit together very nicely, and it should extend to 10 feet across and 8.5 feet high. And you can adjust that from about 5 feet to up to 10 feet, maybe a little less than 5 feet. So far, so good. This is the first time I've used it. Didn't take much to put it together, and it does come in a carry bag as well, so it'll all collapse up and you can take it with you. So as one of my subscribers suggested, she has one of these, and she likes to take it to retreats and put a flannel sheet on it and use it as a design board, which, yes, that would definitely work. Now back to the quilt. The quilt is not yet, as you can see, it hasn't been layered and quilted. That's on my to-do list. Hopefully this week I'll get it on Lucy. So from now on I'll be able to take at least decent pictures of my quilts instead of having them laying on the floor and trying to get it all into the shot. Now I can just hang them up on this and take all the pictures I want. And as I sort through my quilts, which I have not yet done, I might just have this set up and take pictures. Although I have pictures of everything that I've ever made, I think now I can take better pictures than I have in the past of them, for my records, for my, digital quilting journal, I guess you might call it. So, yep, got that all done. What next do I have to show you here? Nope, that's not. Oh yeah, this is the backing fabric that I'm going to use for that Christmas quilt. This was a serendipitous find because I went into my local quilt store, Ultimate Sewing, to pick up an order I had placed, and this was sitting right there when I walked in the door, wide back, and you don't find Christmas wide back easily. At least in quilting stores. You might be able to find some online, but it's not easy to find it in quilting stores, I have found. And so when I saw this, I thought this is perfect for that quilt. And so I got 3 meters of that. It cost me, but I did get my store discount that I usually get because I bought a sewing machine there and I get 10% off of pretty much everything that I buy for life. Okay, that's not what I want to show you next. Just give me a sec. And I've been working on actually experimenting a little bit on some Christmas gifts that I want to give this year to the ladies at Ultimate Sewing. And I think I might be giving them one or a couple of these These are little mug rugs, but they do come in 3 different sizes. So you can see I have all 3 sizes sitting here. And I'm thinking that possibly the one in the middle would be the best size. And on the back of them, the backing fabric is attached in such a way that you have sort of an envelope fold kind of a thing, you know, like you use on pillows and things like that. And it's just perfect to put in maybe a decorative pad of paper and a pencil and maybe some quilting tools like a seam ripper and maybe some needles and a spool of thread or something like that. Just a little token gift for all the things they do for me throughout the year. So that I am working on, and that's an in the hoop design, by the way. It's all done, including putting the backing on, in the hoop on my embroidery machine. And if you like this design, you can get this design at I think it's Designs by Juju is where I picked them up, but I'll put the link in the show notes for you for this. And another thing I just started working on, and this is going to be a gift as well for another friend of mine who I know enjoys gnomes. It'll eventually become a table runner. It is another in the hoop design. I think it's by Designs by Juju. And this is really cute. And if you'll notice, you probably recognize the fabric I'm using in pieces, and I know it's probably sacrilege. I'm using Tula Pink. I'm not a fan of Tula Pink. As you well know, I've explained why many times in many videos, but I happen to have a fat quarter bundle of Tula Pink. And I think it's Tiny Beasts or something like that, and it's just been sitting on my shelf forever. I don't even know why I bought it. I don't remember buying it, but I thought this would work very well in something like this because it's very colorful. So those are 2 out of the 5 gnomes, and then there's some side pieces and border pieces and that all go together to create a table runner. It's going to take me a little time to get this done, but that is something else I'm working on right now. So I have some more things to show you in a second, but I just want to remind you that we have Sewing with Stephanie and Stephen tomorrow, Wednesday, August the 30th. It is August the 30th tomorrow. Yes, it is. Starting at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. It's the come and go, kind of a drop-in thing. Come on in, spend a few hours with us, whatever time you wish, to work on some of those projects and enjoy the company of people that are part of our tribe, so to speak. And all are welcome. And it's open to anybody. It's not just for people who sew or quilt. It's open to knitters and everything else under the sun. So it's just a good time, social. I usually learn something, and it's fun. Okay. Oh, and advance notice. I am thinking right now, I'm 75% sure this is going to happen, but I will make an official announcement before the date. I think I'm going to have a Saturday pop-up sew day on September the 9th. That's not for a couple of weeks yet, but I'm just giving you advance notice about that. So yeah, and as I said, I'm 75% sure that's when I'm going to have it, but it's not a completely written in stone guarantee, but I will let you know for sure before that date about all of that. Okay, so I did a little shopping this week. Actually, a lot of it was unintentional shopping. It's the best kind, isn't it? Or impulse shopping, whatever you want to call it. And so I'm going to show you what I bought. So I bought some more of the O Canada fabrics from Northcott. You know, I'm working on Quilts of Valour quilts and things like that. And they do have a new line. Those poppies are new. The other stuff has been in the line before. And where did I see this? Where did I order this from? I think I got it over at, did I get it at Ultimate Sewing? I maybe did. I think I ordered it online. I think. Geez, I don't remember now. Oh well. Anyways, I bought these, and that's 2 meters each of these. So I've replenished my supply of O Canada fabrics. What else did I buy? Okay, I bought a Halloween panel. I saw this Halloween panel and I thought I was pretty much done with anything for Halloween because I have a lot of Halloween stuff. Do I need any more? Well, apparently I do. I saw this panel and I loved it with the black cats and the house and the whole bit. So I thought I would investigate a pattern for this. And I did find a pattern for it. and you'll see it in a moment. But then I needed more Halloween fabrics for this. So I went to Ultimate Sewing and bought what you see here, these three. This is this one and the blue one are of the same line. This is a different line, I think, but it was cute. Yeah, and I don't usually buy cute fabrics, as you know, but if it's for a special holiday, Halloween screams cute. You got to have cute for Halloween and Christmas. Those are the two times of the year when I'll look at fabric and I'll look for the cute factor in there. But anyways, I like this. It'll go with the panel very nicely. So will this. This probably not going to use it with the panel, but I just thought I'd nail it now because, you know, you never know if it'll be around next year. But then I went looking for a pattern. And at first I was going to make up my own, but then I thought I'd do a search and see if there was a pattern that went with that panel. And there was. And so I bought it, Cats and Bats. And you can see what I liked about this pattern is these corner pieces in this border with the flying geese. If you look at it closely, they look like bats. And they're just pieced together. It's not applique or anything like that. So I thought that was cute. And maybe I could have figured out how to do that on my own. But I decided, buy the pattern. But then when I got the pattern, I'm looking at it thinking, I need more fabrics. So I tried to get all the fabrics that they listed, and I didn't do too bad with that. As you can see here, I think I've got them all now. There was one pattern that I wasn't sure about. I think there might be a misprint in the listing of fabrics. Now, I can't tell you which one it is right now, but there was one I didn't think worked, but I've got fabrics that will work. So yeah, that's going to be my next major project coming up. I have to get it done before Halloween, and that's not that far away if you think about it. Kind of scary, isn't it? Boo. Then, okay, so I made about 3 trips to Ultimate Sewing in the past week. To pick up an order, to get something else. I bought that backing fabric for the Christmas quilt. And while I was in the store picking up an order, they were having a sale. They had fabrics they were trying to get rid of that were $10 a meter. Okay, that's pretty good. They had them all laid out, all these bolts of fabric on their table in the classroom, and they were ugly. I know why they were trying to get rid of them. They were just butt ugly, most of them. But I looked through the pile and I came up with these two. Now, I only bought 2 meters of each of these because what I'm going to make them into is, you know, I'm working on my Gnome Tote Bags, and I make my own fabric, quilted fabric for these. And I thought, hey, these would look cool as tote bag fabric. And they are. Now, I don't have one of the bags done yet. I did make them into my tote bag fabric. Yesterday, I did that actually on Lucy. And I have the basic pieces cut out, but I need to embroider them with the design that I'm putting on them and then make them into the bag. So that's another project I want to work on this week. I may even be working on this tomorrow during Sewing with Stephanie and Stephen if I get my act together today. So yeah, but they are kind of pretty fabrics. So then we went up, as you know, if you saw Stephen and Walter live and listened to my vlog yesterday, we went to a little town called Uxbridge that is north of us for a Pride event. And when we were leaving, we stopped in at the Quilters Cupboard, which is the quilt store they have up there. Now, I am not a big fan of Quilters Cupboard for a couple of reasons. It's a really nice shop. It's got lots of fabric. Prices are on the high side. Okay, but you know, given what we're paying for fabric these days, no surprise. But most of their fabrics do not appeal to my aesthetic. They are what I call old lady fabrics. Kind of Lori Holt and that kind of look. Now, and you know, depression era type reproductions, things like that. I'm not big into that style. I mean, it's nice fabric. It's just that it's not my style. So I don't usually buy too much from them. But when we were in the store, figured we're up there anyways, let's just drop in and see what they have. They were having a sale. And they what they called summer fabrics I don't know why they called them summer fabrics, but anyways, well, some look more like summer than others. The blue one you see here with the little dragonflies on it, that one was one on sale. It was $30, 30% off a meter, which would made it, because they're usually a meter of fabric there is $20, $21, $22 a meter. So that brought it down to a more reasonable level. And of course it's blues and it's got like bugs on it. So I bought 2 meters of that. The fabric sitting beside it was not on sale. It is a Christmas fabric, and Walter found it and he says, "Oh, look, you were saying that you didn't have enough with silver and white kind of thing in your Christmas collection. Look at this one." He's an enabler, yes. So I had to have 2 meters of that, and so I did. That one was pricey. I think that was $20.99 a meter for that. So yeah, these were impulse buys, but that's all I bought. And you know, even if I'd wanted to buy something else more in there, I just didn't see anything that really fits my aesthetic. But it's a really nice little store. So if you're ever up in the Uxbridge area, do check out Quilters Cupboard and make sure that you have a small mortgage with you to be able to pay for the fabric. I shouldn't say that. It sounds a little unfair to the store because it is a nice store. But I guess you need a small mortgage to buy fabric anywhere these days. I'm spoiled. Ultimate Sewing still has the best prices. Most of their fabric is $16 a meter. You can't beat that. And of course, all the prices I'm talking about today are in Canadian. Okay. And yeah, we're really spoiled and very lucky to have Ultimate Sewing, as I've said. So if you're in the Oshawa area, my area, do drop into Ultimate Sewing. You won't be disappointed. I can tell you that. Okay. Yeah, someone sent me this and I wanted to share it with you. It's a little comic here. What's the difficulty level of this quilting pattern? On a scale of blissful tranquility to rage-inducing, that one is between moderate swearing and intermittent tantrums. I love it. I forget who sent this to me, but thank you for sending it. Great little comic, because I think we can all identify with that, can't we? Okay, so I showed you everything that I bought, and bought a lot this week. So let's go on to, now I've been talking about these Gnome Tote Bags that I've been making. They are meant to put some little treats in them to take to Stephanie Stitch's retreat in December. And I thought I'd show you, someone wanted to know how I make the fabric for the tote bags, which to me seemed like a no-brainer. But I can see now, if you don't own a long arm, or if you do and you never tried this, maybe you didn't know about it. So I made a little video showing you how I make my fabric for my Gnome tote bags. One of my subscribers asked me to show how I make fabric for a tote bag on my Lucy, on my long arm. And it's basically the way you would baste any kind of quilt or quilt any type of quilt on the long arm. You have to just lay out your fabric, make your sandwich, and pick your pattern. So you can see on here right now, I have my backing fabric on here. It is not a really wide piece. It's about 2 meters long or so, and about, meter and a half maybe wide. This was just a leftover piece of backing fabric that I used on a previous project. So when you make tote bags this way, you could use up some of your larger scraps as well, and that's what I'm doing here. Now I need a piece of batting that's going to be big enough to cover this piece. And I just went into my stash of large cutoffs. These are from other projects. And rather than cutting new batting from my big roll, I'm just going to use one of these pieces. And this piece is just big enough now. So I'm going to layer this together here, and I'm going to put my top fabric onto this as well. And basically all I'm doing is what I've shown in a previous video on another episode, how I baste a quilt. And I'll come back and show you how I pick a design. So now I've got my layers made, and as I said, it's just a piece of scrap backing. It's just a piece of scrap batting, and this is, I bought a couple of meters with the fabric that was on sale at my local quilt store, because I really don't care in the case of these particular tote bags that I'm making what the design is on them. I just wanted something bright and colorful, and this fit the bill. I've threaded my machine, and I've threaded it with, you can see over there, with sort of a pinky colored thread, and in my bobbin I have white thread because the backing of this is not going to be seen because there'll be a lining in the bag and that'll cover that up. And what's on the top here doesn't really matter color wise because I'm more interested in texture than I am in what the design looks like overall. I'll pick the design in a minute, but what I'm going to do now is just going to base the quilt, and you've seen that in a previous video. I'm going to do a line of stitching across the top and a line of stitching on each side to hold it in place, and then I'll pick my pattern. Now, I am not being too careful as to how straight this is along the top. If I was doing a regular quilt, I most definitely would be. I'd stitch down a guideline across the batting, then move my top fabric up to that line and straighten it out as best I could, and then I'd put a line of stitching about an eighth of an inch is what I'm trying to say, from the top of the top edge of the top fabric. But I'm not worried about that today. It doesn't matter because this is going to get cut up afterwards. So if it's a little crooked, no one will ever notice once I'm done with it. So I'm going to do that basting right now, and then I'll come back and show you how I pick a pattern. So I've turned on my computerized system, which is called Quilt Path, and now I'm going to select an edge-to-edge pantograph design, and I just push this button here. And the first thing it's going to ask me is it wants to know how big the total quilt is, and it wants to know the length, and it wants to know the width, and it wants me to mark my initial sewing area by marking where the top left corner is, and I just move my machine to the top left corner and I bring it over about a couple of inches out and above, and I hit top left and it registers that. Now it's asking for the bottom right, so I bring the machine over to the bottom right as far as I can go down. Right here is good, and I'm going to click. It's kind of hard. I'm holding a camera at the same time. I'm going to click the bottom right, and it marks that. And now I'm going to tell it how wide the quilt is. So I'm just going to put it to just the edge of the quilt. And in this case, I have my selvage here. And just as a matter of, for the purists out there, yes, usually you take your selvage end of your fabric and you place it at the top instead of on the side, but because I'm trying to maximize what I want to get out of this piece of fabric, and because it doesn't really matter because of what I'm going to do with it, I just put the selvage down this end, so I'd have, it's not as wide, but it's longer, and that'll give me lots of space, or when I cut it up, it'll give me lots of bags that way. Okay, so here's my blank screen. It wants me to put in these two measurements. Let's see if I can focus on this. There we go. So it wants to know the total width and the total height. Well, we already know the total height because I measured that before I came on here. So I'm just going to click on that box, and I know my total height is about 83 inches. So that's there. And you see it's changed the orientation of the quilt. This is my fabric. It is showing here right now, sort of. And now I'm going to do the total width. And to do the total width, as I said, I have placed my needle just here on the edge. It doesn't matter where, as far as here on the physical thing, as long as it's over here on the edge, just off the quilt. And I'm going to go up here to this little thing that looks like a ruler. Click on that. And then it's asking me some points down here, these 2 points. It wants to know where the left side starts, and I've got my needle already placed there, so I'll push that button. And then I'm going to drag the machine all the way over to the far side and just to the edge of the fabric, and I'm going to hit this other button. And so it says my quilt width is 43.445 inches. Now, that may not be exactly what it is if I was to use a tape measure, but the machine has its own calculations for this. So you let the machine measurements stand. So I'm going to apply this measurement where it says right there. And so now I have what's called the safe zone. all set up. And the safe zone is the area that's going to be quilted in. And if something goes beyond that, or it helps me to set up the pantograph into the right area, and that's why you do it. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is I want to pick a design. And since I'm doing an edge-to-edge design, I'm going to just go to Select Pattern. And I have all my continuous line patterns in here. And I want to pick something that's relatively dense for this. It doesn't have to be overly dense, but I just want something that's a nice overall pattern that's going to give some texture. And I'm just picking here what I would like. Kind of looking for something I haven't really done before. Well, I'll come back and show you what I've picked. So this is the design that I have picked. I know it's very difficult to see, but we go into the magnifying glass here and just go up to that size. And you can see that's fairly dense, but I'm not really liking the fact that these are touching up here. So I'm just going to move them off a little bit by adjusting the pattern height, or the spacing, I mean, right here. Just click that and you can see it widens it out. And there, that looks pretty good. Maybe go 2.5. Yeah, that looks good right there. And print fill. Okay, that looks pretty good. Okay, so now that I'm happy with that, I can go to sew in zones. It comes up with this warning all the time. I ignore that because it doesn't mean anything for what I'm doing right now. And it says, do you want to save the zone? Yeah, I'll say I'll save the zone. I've got to give it a name. I don't know. I'm just going to call it bag. Bag 1. Enter. Save. And so that is saved. Just in case I need to come back, it's good to do that. Now you notice it shifted the pattern, because now what I have to do is place it. And it wants me to place it where that green box with the little yellow dot is on it. I'm going to move my needle over to approximately the center of this fabric, which is right about here, because I have a fold here. And that's how I know. Otherwise, I would just measure it across and find the area. It doesn't have to be completely accurate, but anyways, that's close enough. And I'm going to push that placement. And yep, it's still in there. Now, if I had pushed this over off too far to one side or the other side, it would give me a warning. And I just readjust where the needle is and do it again until I got it in the right spot. Now, what I always like to do is do a trace pattern first, which means that the needle will go to the starting position, but it won't sew. It'll just trace out this pattern. And this is how I get a sense of where it's going to start and where it's going to end, to make sure that the fabric is covered completely. So to do that, I just click Trace, and it's going to ask me a couple of questions here. Or maybe not. Sometimes it does. It's going to the start position. And the start position is where that little green circle is up here at the top. And then it's just going to start tracing out the pattern. Now this lets me get a sense of how dense my pattern is going to be. And as I said, where it's going to begin and where it's going to stop. Yes, this is a step that you don't always have to do, but I feel more confident when I do this. So once this is stopped, then I'll come back and show you the actual sewing process. And so as you can see, I've got Lucy doing this pattern. I think this pattern works very well with this fabric, but I didn't really care about that so much as I wanted texture, and this is exactly what I'm getting here. I'm getting lots of texture. So you can see what the overall design is going to look like. And I'm just going to carry on as if I was quilting a regular quilt, moving to the next zone, as they call it, until I have finished the whole strip of fabric. And that's what I would cut out my pieces for my bags from. And it's that easy to create that kind of thing. Now, could you do this on your domestic machine? Sure you could, but it's going to take you longer on a domestic machine
So, why not make a bag that's quilted, that has lots of texture, doing it this way? And as I said, I got the fabric relatively inexpensive, so it was a great way to use fabric that's on sale and to use up some of your scrap backing fabric and some of your batting as well.
Okay, so that takes us to Subscribers Quilt of the Week, and this beautiful creation comes from Ellen. I hope I say her last name right. Ellen Holshabak. Sorry, Ellen, if I didn't say it right. But here's her beautiful creation. This week's Quilt of the Week comes from one of my subscribers, Ellen Holschbach. And Ellen has sent us some pictures of her beautiful creations before. And this one is the mirror pattern, which I also have done. But Ellen put her own spin on this. And right as soon as you see it, the colors just jump right out at you. And she says, this is my version of the mirror quilt. I wanted to use wider strips, so I modified it to use 5 colors. I did straight line quilting in the strips and stippled the stars. I gave this to my niece for her new baby. Yeah, beautiful. I mean, the colors and the little stars that you've used, the star fabric, all of this, I definitely says baby quilt. As I said before, I love the color scheme here. It's very bright and beautiful and works out very, very well as a baby quilt. So thank you, Ellen, for sharing your beautiful creation with us. It's absolutely gorgeous and just delightful to look at. Now, for the YouTube of the week, I have a clip from The Last Homely House, which is Kate, and everybody knows Kate, and everybody knows The Last Homely House YouTube channel, I'm sure, and if you haven't, you should check it out. But Kate, of course, went to the big Festival of Quilts. I think it was in Birmingham, in England, in the UK. They have it every year. It is sort of the English version of QuiltCon, I think. And Kate was there and she met up with Kaffe Fassett. And again, everybody knows who Kaffe Fassett is. And if you don't, where have you been living? Dark, dingy hole, probably. But she talks with him. So here's my review of that little video clip. This week's YouTube video is actually one put up by The Last Homely House, and that's Kate, and everybody knows Kate. I'm pretty sure you do, and if you don't, you should check out her YouTube channel called The Last Homely House. But she went to the Festival of Quilts, I believe it's in Birmingham, in England, and she's done a 2-part video series showing you all the beautiful quilts that were on display, and she also did some interviews on the fly with personalities that were also in attendance and had quilts entered in the quilt show. So if you want to see what they're doing across the pond when it comes to quilting, then you're going to want to check out these 2 videos by Kate of The Last Homely House. They really are something to see. And while you're checking out that clip, do check out the other video she has of the quilt show, because there are some fantastic quilts in that Festival of Quilts. Okay, so that takes me to future projects. You know that I'm into making quilts for Quilts of Valour. And when I say I'm into making them, I've only made one. But I'm hoping to get a second one done at some point in the near future. And I come across on the Quilt of Valour site this particular pattern, and it's called Scrappy Maple Leaf Quilt. It's a free pattern, and I kind of thought it was a great way to use up your scraps and at the same time create something to donate to Quilts of Valour. A future project that I want to work on is a pattern for Quilts of Valour. In fact, this pattern called Scrappy Maple Leaf Quilt came from the Quilts of Valour Canadian site, and it's really made up of all your scraps, and I think it's quite spectacular. The pattern is free, and I have a link for it in the show notes below, but if you take a look at this, it's a great way to use up all your scraps. And I showed you last week one of the blocks from this quilt that I have worked on, and you know, this is one of those kind of patterns where I think you can work on this in bits and pieces over time. You know, cut up some squares from some scraps from a project, put them in a case, a bag, a box, a basket, whatever. And every now and then when you need to palette clean, you just reach in, grab some of these, and make one of these blocks. The instructions are very clear. If you were to make this into the quilt as they have it here, it's supposed to measure 71 by 22.5 inches, twin size, which is a good size quilt. Don't let the number of scrappy squares throw you off. As I said, you can make these from your scraps, and if you do it over time, as I suggested, you'll probably have this quilt done in no time at all, and get rid of some of your scraps that have been piling up. It's very simple. It's just half square triangles and squares of fabric, so nothing difficult about that. And they include a template for making this stem piece that's down here, and that too is very, very easy, and I'll show you the template. And they have diagrams for everything, and on the last page they have a template for the stems on blocks A and B. Very easy to do, not hard at all. So if you want something that's very colorful, something that busts your scrap pile out, I suggest this pattern. It's free. How can you go wrong? Now, usually at this point in the episode, I have a little teaser for an interview that I've done in the past week. Well, I don't have one, and I haven't had one for a couple of weeks because I just have not come across anyone yet that I want to interview. So I need your help. Open to suggestions. Remember my criterion. They can't be a huge big name. They should have a YouTube channel or at least a website. I don't do this to promote their business, but if they happen to have a business, that is fine. We will talk about it during the interview. And I hope that they're just a very interesting person. And by interviewing them, I'm hoping, especially if they have a YouTube channel, that I can direct some traffic in their way. I have put a few feelers out over the last few weeks. I have not had any answers, or I've just had flat out no's, which is fine. That's what happens. The life of an interviewer, I guess. But if you have some suggestions, send them along. Now, don't be upset if I reject your suggestion for one reason or another. One reason I will reject it is because I've already done that person. Okay? Or it's because they don't fit my criterion. Okay? So don't suggest Jenny Doan or Angela Walters or Lori Holt or any of those ones. Okay? Because no, they're way too big. They don't want to be interviewed by a little person like me. No. But the little people I want to help out. Okay, so that takes me to online quilt stores, and this week is a quilt store that comes that's in Ontario, in my province, and it's called Rose Cottage Quilt Shop. This week's online quilt store is called Rose Cottage Quilt Shop, and it is located in, and I just see if I can find it, I think in the Windsor area of Ontario. Let's just see if we can find. Yes, it's LaSalle, Ontario. So let's check out their front page. Looks like they're a Bernina dealer. They have special events. They have a 2-day workshop with Australian decorative quilt artist. So that's nice. They have classes, what's new, fabric, machines, open for in-store shopping. And they've got some samples of what they have available and all their information. So that's good. Right there on the front page, you get quite a bit of information. So let's go right into fabric and see what they have to offer. Well, they have it nicely organized. Toscana, solids, flannel, wide backing, batik, kits and precuts, panels, by the meter, Christmas, and special. Let's check out by the meter. Okay, so you can see that they've listed on the left-hand side designer names and types, which is good, and brands. Okay, so let's check out what they're selling. Let's take something that's sort of, everyday. Let's look at the Stonehenge line. Always very popular. and a lot of it is sold out, which is to be expected. Prices seem to vary between $13.95 and $17.95. $13.95, I think that's a panel. $16.95 for gradations, and I'm assuming that's by the meter. $17.95. So, okay, prices are not bad. They do have some wide back as well in here, $26.95 for wide back in the Stonehenge, which is not a bad price either for wide back fabric. Well, let's look at maybe something a little bit more on the specialty side. Shimmer often is more expensive, $17.95. They really have a lot of fabric that's sold out, though, which I wonder how often they restock. Let's go back and take a look here to see how much they do have actually in stock they're listing. Well, they list over 2,000 individual fabrics, so that's pretty good. Fassett. Yes, that's a little bit more expensive, $19.95, but again, not out of the way. Well, some of it's $11.95 as well, so it depends. Prices are reasonable in terms of what you would expect for fabric at this point in time. Okay, now they did see that they listed precuts, so let's go back again and see what they have in precuts. Let's see, where did I see that? See, this is all categories. All right, let's go into fabric again. By the meter. Here we go, kits and precuts. Okay, so precuts. Okay, $32.95 for Tunga strips. That's average price. As I look down here at charm packs, they have a Free Spirit Mystery Fat Quarter. Jelly rolls. Yeah, the prices are what you would expect to find. So nothing exciting here about that. Not a great deal to pick from either in precuts. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, they have a few, but it's really not a wide selection, which is not unusual, I have found, with a lot of online and in-person stores. Now, what else do they have? They do have kits. Let's go back into here. Kits and see what they have to offer. A few things. They have about 25 kits. And many of them are sold out. Nothing's really grabbing me here in their kits. Nothing that really stands out as being sensational. I've seen a lot of this stuff before. Some of this is kind of on the old side in terms of kits and design. So, yeah. So, what else can we take a look at here? They have the usual notions. Let's check their thread. Bobbins, Brother, Gamut. Gamut, they seem to be showing that as a Canadian thread. Specialty, Metler. Okay, well, they do have Metler. A lot of places don't have Metler. And I have no idea if these are good prices or the average prices. I suspect they're about average for Metler because I don't really buy Metler. I am curious, though, about that other one that's one I've never heard of. This Gamut. Well, they're showing a Canadian maple leaf on it, so I'm assuming it means it's Canadian product, but they do not describe it here as being such. Looks like it's more of an embroidery thread. Yeah. So that may be why I've never heard of it. I use Foriani. $4.95 a spool, not terrible price. That's about the same size spool as I get in Foriani that I pay a couple of dollars more a spool for. So, yeah, if I ever want to experiment with that thread, I know where to go to get it. They have stabilizer, they have batting. Do they charge batting? Natural cotton batting bolt 96, that's sold out. Soft and stable, Pellon, heirloom black, 96 wide 80/20 batting, $15.95. I wonder if that is by the meter. Yep, $15.95 per meter. That's not terrible, that price for it. That's okay. All right. Now they have embroidery designs. I'm interested in this. Is this machine embroidery or is this... Yes, this looks like it's machine embroidery. And it looks like they sell OESD products as well. Yeah, so this is machine embroidery patterns, but it's embroidery online. Okay. And yeah, it took me to embroidery online. I should have looked at the top. That's interesting. So they must have an affiliation with them, but you're just basically buying from embroidery online with that kind of thing. I don't see any great advantage to that, except maybe I wonder if they will ship their physical products. They didn't for a while. That's embroidery online, but they did do it through certain stores in Canada that carried their products. So that may be why they've made that link there. Okay, let's take a look at machines. I think we've already... Oh, it looks like they might have quite a few different machines. They have Bernina. They have Brother. So Steady, maintenance and repairs, embroidery software. Okay, so they have a variety of things, but it looks to me like they're principally a Bernina dealer. Services, they do long arm quilting, machine embroidery, machine rental, maintenance and repair. Now, classes, clubs and events. So do they have some current classes? They have a calendar. In August, well, they have a few classes in August. Sit and Sew, Socialize, Daisy Paths, whatever that is. They give you the times. And do they have anything down the road? September, yeah, looks like they have something that's some kind of a club, Gathering Stitchers Club. But they really don't look like they've got any other classes beyond August. So maybe those are to come. They have a section called Videos, Embroidery Extravaganza, different videos on different topics, long arm quilting, charity sew-in, stabilizers, Quilts and Underground Railroad, celebrating women in quilts, healthy sewing. So there's some things here you can check out. They have gift cards, and the only thing we don't know about at the moment is what they charge for shipping. Let's see if there's something at the bottom of the page. Services, shipping, here we go. Shipping of items under 5 kilograms, 11 pounds, is a flat rate of $15 to Ontario addresses and $20 to other Canadian provinces and territories. Free shipping is offered for shipments valued at $200 or more to all Canadian provinces. We generally ship by Purolator, Canpar, or Canada Post. We cannot guarantee arrival time, but we do ship within 3 days and provide tracking. Shipping costs are subject to change as the market changes. And international, says U.S. customers, please read this. Okay. Exchange rate, they talk about that. Measurement, shipping. United States is $21 Canadian, up to 2 meters, plus $2 Canadian for each additional 2 meters. Okay, a little bit more involved for American shoppers. But I don't think their shipping prices are out of the way for Canadian destinations, and over $200, which isn't hard to do, free in Canada. So overall, Rose Cottage Quilt Shop, I think, is worth checking out. I didn't think there was much to choose from in terms of kits and pre-cuts, but they didn't seem to have a bad selection of fabric, and the fabric was, I think, reasonably priced given today's market. So yeah, check out Rose Cottage Quilt Shop. So that brings me to the end of this episode of Idiot Quilter. And anything coming up? Well, I've already mentioned that there's a good possibility that I will have a pop-up sew day on Saturday, September the 9th. Stay tuned for details. And a really advanced notice, because we are moving into September soon. In about the middle of September, I'll be starting to send out and make announcements about my fall retreat, which is going to be on Saturday, October the 21st. So you might want to circle that date on your calendar. You do have to register for the event. It is absolutely free. But all the details for that kind of thing will be coming out to everybody, either here, well, yeah, definitely here. But for those of you on my mailing list, you will get all the information sent directly to your inbox. If you're not on my mailing list and wish to be, just simply my email address is in the show notes below. Just drop me a line with your first and last name, real first and last name, please, and the email address you wish me to use in the mailing list for you. So yeah, that's that. So I don't think there's anything else I can tell you about. Stay tuned for Friday's So Chatty. Walter and I are going to be doing something. I don't know what we're going to be doing yet, but we'll come up with something, I'm sure. And then, of course, Stephen and Walter live on Sunday afternoon as usual at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. So hope to see you in some of those as well. So have a great week, make something creative, and have a great time. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.